This information must go to your team to know that from United States to the Russia government to know that God want to send into this information by your team because I'm making video as the witness. God want to this information be sent to you and you send into the government of Canada, which is the coming on the breaking word news. World coldest air 2022 on the move to Canada. The move to Canada, basically weather. We are talking about ice storm. So, ladies and gentlemen, according to this man here, we are talking about at least 100, I don't know how I can, 110,000 kilometers to the, I don't believe 10,000 kilometers, at least 25,000 kilometers if it's on Quebec to Ontario, Toronto, Montreal, Ottawa especially, to the Nova Scotia. How many kilometers is that? We're talking about 30,000 kilometers or 25,000 kilometers altogether. Space God raising this weather, gentlemen, which is the evidence you have here, is coming coldest weather. But before God bring this part here, which is not happening yet, but is on the way to Canada to bring investigation to these two departments about my case in Canada, to their internet and their electricity. God want to many of you receive this information because they can cause chaos. Because winter time with the icy weather, no electricity, no heat. So this man, he want to this information going to many parts to know that, especially you US Navy and as witness Russia government standing by China, to know that this is on the way coming to Canada. So how this is going to happen in, according to information I have, ladies and gentlemen, this will happen in two days to 3 days. All the heavy snow by rain, freezing rain is going to be ice next day. We're talking about 24-hour event. For 2 days to 3 days, God will making all the electricity, as I told you, 25,000 kilometers to 30,000 kilometers, all the electricity cable of the Canada fall, as happened in 1989 or 1998 or 1989. So this information must go to the many country to receive that, because this is the biggest chaos going to on the way to happening in Canada. So many country to receive that. God want to bring investigation, gentlemen, because justice or merciful, but this person, which is the real God, he want to bring investigation to Canada for bankruptcy, their government, Canada, on the lawsuits. For most important parts, God want to many of you in the video, YouTube, you can receive that this is traveling to Canada. This weather coming soon to the Canada by rain is by freezing rain, and 2 days, 3 days after is all the cable electricity become icy, heavy icy, and completely be fire falling on the ground, which is happening here, ladies and gentlemen, which is happening in Canada here. I bring it to your evidence.
Ice storms are not unusual in Canada.
It's happening here, ladies and gentlemen.
Building up and getting thicker and thicker and thicker, and the wires kept getting bigger and bigger, and all of the trees around, of course, were building up with ice.
Look at the thickness of this ice compared to my hand. It's quite amazing.
This going to from basically to my acknowledge from Ottawa, Quebec, Ontario, traveling the angel of the God by ice storm to Canada, freezing rain, and take, as I told you, 3 days. They bring in all the cable, electricity done in the Canada, which is, I told you, 25,000 kilometers, if we can, from all their city around the Ottawa,
It's quite amazing.
around the Quebec to Ottawa.
This condition kept up for hour after hour after hour, and then gradually, that's when we started to hear the trees coming down, and then the lines started coming down. Trees were falling on the lines, and the lines were falling down on their own because of the weight of the ice that was building up on there.
Then we lost power for more than half of the province.
You can see that, gentlemen, this happening according to God, this happening in Canada one times. So is going to what is happening again, which is the before happening. God want to send into the United States whoever is in charge to know that to basically raising the Russia government to bring in government of Canada under my investigation for $700 billion. Government of Canada must pay me for crime of the RCMP from Nova Scotia to Yukon to the Saint John, Newfoundland. They transfer to the basically in BC Vancouver, which is 5 years I face in BC Vancouver crime of RCMP behind my case. So when I was in Edmonton, I did not receive the crime of the RCMP. I was in Edmonton for maybe more than, I can say, more than 7 years. I did not receive the crime of the police in the Edmonton or RCMP. Few times I had a problem, but not very serious problem. They never casting by India culture or this culture or other culture problem behind my case, which is the Edmonton. I don't want to talk about that, but only things, my message to you, ladies and gentlemen, this weather traveling to the Canada, and God want to all of you be witness. If you see that in Canada, you must understand this is the acts of God coming to investigation to their government money, because they did not pay me, and basically Space God side want to bring their government Canada on the world. Breaking news for bankruptcy of the Muslim terrorists in Canada behind their government, Justin Trudeau, and tell don't pay this man or don't do that. They rule in the government of Canada. So which is these two culture, as I told you, that India, Muslim Arab or Iranian. I don't know about Iranian, but only I can tell you the Arab Muslim and India culture in the BC Vancouver to all the Canada, which is Toronto, Ontario, they will cost this kiosk to the Canada. And before this happening, because we are talking about at least, as I told you, 700,000 trillion. Because how they can travel into the 20,000, 10 of 1,000 mile to fix the electricity. So we are talking about last day of the Canada electricity, gentlemen. Not electricity, I'm talking about completely their government. Because if God is not agree, he will shut down completely their parliament. Which is I bring to you evidence, all of you to receive that, ladies and gentlemen. I am bringing to all of you evidence. This is going happening to their capital city, Ottawa. I don't know how this is God going to bring it, but I understand to my acknowledge earthquakes God is going to raise to the government of Canada in Ottawa, and same time ice storm hitting to Quebec, Montreal, all that, so which is the bankruptcy government. So before all this happening, God want us sending to the those people in charge in Canada to taking action against this situation right now, because what I am speaking to you, God is speaking clearly to you, United States Navy. If you believe in, if you don't believe in, you playing game, USA Navy, you pay price. I promise to you, US United States Navy, You pay biggest price ever worth one army pay in the United States. You continue play game by this culture behind the mic is by black culture from CIA department to all over. You will be sorry. So, subject, gentlemen, I bring it to all of you to know that this is the investigation coming to Canada. And not many people know that. Only God know that, and I must bring it to the news before too late, because God interests to not people going to freeze into death finally. Because way of the Canada right now, which is guiding this department, RCMP or their Canadian Security Service, multicultural 10 times worse, they guiding to the Canada to the death. Basically, their government is we're talking about bankruptcy. Dead government is completely lost everything. And people is going to pay price, which is God. Before people pay price, God want to bring in the news world. At least NATO did an investigation to Canada. At least United States stand up behind the Russia to investigation to the Canada.
This process.
Investigation to Canada before too late, because this man is speaking. He's not speaking only. He is going on the way to bring action to Canada. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am speaking about Tireto tsunami coming to Canada, which is the cost in Ottawa, Quebec, Montreal, comparatively shut down. Ghost city. All the building is going to crack it down and completely be not using anymore. Is done. So beside that, people is going to be under risk for this ice storm. Because of my case in Canada, ladies and gentlemen, God know me, I can take action. And by I taking action, God can completely lose me for maybe 4 months, 3 months, 5 months, I don't know how long. But before even 1 second, completely everything going wrong, God is stepping in and sending to United States Navy, to Russia, China, to dead England, if you are exist, United States, to freezing government of Canada and bringing government of Canada, because I am not interested in money. Money is for me like washroom, toilets. You go into the washroom and pee. But God know that if Canada not pay me, completely my life is going to be damaged. And God know that they must pay before they walk away from this attack, ladies and gentlemen. So I am bringing to all of you, ladies and gentlemen, to know that government of Canada in the most serious chaos coming to their country and costing at least 25 million people, because electricity are talking about 25,000 mile shut down by the ice storm. And beside that, building fall, bridge fall in their country, and they don't have no clue. According to that time Halifax explosion happening, the lady in the news told these people they don't have no clue what is going to happen. They did not understand what is going to happen in TNT rays in the Nova Scotia, and completely everything fly on the air. That is the history of the explosion in Nova Scotia. So we are talking about 1,000 times worse is coming by this, ladies and gentlemen, to government of Canada. Because God is not going to allow India culture inside the RCMP or Canadian Security Service carry on in Canada, because I promise to you, my blood is not going to happen. Canada is going to be shut down, ladies and gentlemen. On the chaos, we are talking about on the major disaster to their country, and completely finally God raising the investigation to NATO, and chief of the NATO God bring in the world news, because I did send to NATO, you be on the investigation if Canada become on the chaos, and because God did send to NATO, you are responsible to freezing government of Canada on the Qasim Yar Ahmadi investigation for crime of the RCMP from Nova Scotia, St. John, Newfoundland, all over their country, Yukon. They caused in major trouble and trouble into the BC Vancouver, which is in the BC Vancouver, ladies and gentlemen. but I don't have an identification, I don't have a driver license, I don't have health card even. This is the key. This is the crime of the Canada. BC Vancouver did 2 times worse than Nova Scotia and Saint John, Newfoundland. So I am bringing to you, ladies and gentlemen, about the criminal country Canada and about the crime of the Canada, what chaos is going to happen in, and this information, this man forcing this information going in the world news. At least if the United States cannot stand up to attacking Canada, freezing government of Canada, completely shutting down their government, at least he can raise the Russia, China to investigation to Canada and freezing government of Canada, completely shutting down before 25,000, 25 million going with the note electricity. Because if 10,000 mile electricity be hit, we are talking about halting the country. It's going to be on the dark city. In the winter time, which is I have evidence here, cold weather traveling to Canada from January, from this month right now. But take 3 days, according to information I have, take 3 days to God bring this to Canada. Take 3 days, 1, 2, 3. God bring this ice storm, all their cable freeze and fall. They don't have electricity. God shutting down the government internet. On the criminal investigation, which is my investigation, not into their internet or their electricity, my investigation to RCMP Department for Crime, but they did cost me. I won $7 billion from this department. They pay me. I removed myself from Canada. I don't have nothing to do with the Canada electricity or internet. But we are talking about very, very serious situation in Canada coming. And electricity be cut off, people going freezing to the death in the ice storm. What is going to happen in? And NATO going on the investigation, God told. European government be responsible, and United States coming on the news why they did not freezing Canada from beginning to coming to the end like this. Here, this is evidence right now standing up, because if if this man was not exist, believe me, I was going to take machine gun and basically doing something, because I can't do that. But because of this man, Jesus, he want I being gentle and bring the message to you to understand how serious government of Canada is on the criminal investigation. Number one, about my case in Canada, God want to bring witness to the world. Number two, about crime to their own people. Canada do. But this is not my problem. This is their government problem. My problem is only, ladies and gentlemen, I don't let Canada walk away for crime they did behind my future. And God know that 100% I am going to bring Canada on the chaos, on the investigation for biggest war even happening to Canada, building and bridge. So I am sending to all of you gentlemen to know that according to this person, you are responsible, USA Navy. You are responsible to raising the Russia government, at least China, Russia government, freezing government of Canada, because people is innocent people. They don't have no idea what God is on the move into Canada. From space. As I told you, gentlemen, take my word. When freezing rain coming, take 1 day, ice storm hits. 1 day only. Midnight to the morning, nobody can go out. Ice coming like 1 kilo ice. And this gonna cause all the electricity which burning. Cable fall, completely all the cable will fall on the city, on the outside the city, from city to outside the city, which is that this person here is speaking.
This condition kept up for hour after hour after hour, and then gradually, that's when we started to hear the trees coming down, and then the lines started coming down. Trees were falling on the lines, and the lines were falling down on the...
You can see that, gentlemen, we are talking about this person got 25,000 miles to even 30,000 miles. Canada facing this. But now God say, put your finger to your ass. Canada, you was a tough guy or hard head. Now you put your finger on your ass and go fix it, this one. 30,000 miles we speaking about. How they can travel 30,000 miles to fix all the cable fall electricity? Because nobody will play joke with the God when coming serious attack. We are not talking about joke. We are talking about, ladies and gentlemen, end of Canada. And they don't know. These people, RCMP, they hiring the people, India culture or other culture. These people, they don't have no wisdom, no knowledge to understand what they put this country under risk. And God bring me to the news. Here to send into you, United States Navy, to send to Russia, China, NATO at least, NATO stand up to take a step to the government of Canada in this time, and freezing government of Canada to not carry on. Because when, you must believe, gentlemen, when God bring into the time of the Pharaoh, he gave message to Pharaoh, he did not listen. But finally, God make Pharaoh to fall in his head on the ground, and he lost everything. He said, I lost everything. I don't have nothing in my hand. So we are talking about not people in Canada. We are talking about money in Canada. We are talking about power of the money they have. In Canada, everything be destroyed. Everything basically be on the ice storm, on the tsunami, gone by flood. So we are talking about God's acts coming, and God justice coming to Canada, and God want first step. Their government pay me $7 billion for crime of the RCMP department behind my life, special Canadian Security Service, multicultural India in the BC Vancouver, under RCMP India culture, by the Arab Muslim in the Ontario, Toronto. Whatever they did, they pay me. I remove myself from this land, because this land is going to go under major terrible, ladies and gentlemen, because I understand. I understand what kind of people Canadian they are. I had at least maybe in Canada 30 fights. I have the 25 charge in the Ontario, Toronto for fighting only, like to Canadian people. 25 fight. You can check out my Toronto, Ontario, my record. I have 25 assault charge by Canadian in the jail and Canadian outside the jail. Those guy had a big shot guy. I fight and I win the fight. 2 times. 1 time I lose the fight in Canada, which is a BC Vancouver. Somebody by mistake, somebody I did not know that they raised to come punch into my face. I was not ready, and this happening in Canada in the BC Vancouver, and God told me let go, and I let the person walk away. So my point, I cannot lose the fighting or something in Canada because they don't know reality, who I believe and who I am walking. So Jesus as the God coming to this situation between me and Canada to make it peace. And Jesus give message to the U.S. Navy and CIA Department and government of United States to raise the Russia, Putin, and China, at least putting force in the government of Canada and freezing their government. You don't want to freeze in their government. At least they make their government pay me. I move from their country before too late, ladies and gentlemen, because I am sending to all of you. God know, basically, I told you that just one person, one times. If Jesus was not in my life, believe me, I am one of the international that carry the even machine gun for the gain. So because of Jesus in my life, I don't care about the police. I don't care about this. I was able to run in the biggest game, but God chose me to walk away from Toronto gain, Toronto crime, and step back and walk away, which is I did. So otherwise, if Jesus was not today exist in Canada, in my life, you must believe something major was going to happen in, and Jesus was going to come and completely crash down the whole thing, the system of Canada. But before this happening, now he bring me to this situation to send in to you, ladies and gentlemen. Canada is under serious attack, ladies and gentlemen, and this department costing that, and they don't know yet what is coming to Canada. And God want I bring into all of you evidence before too late to bring in government of Canada on the news. They pay me, I move from the country, and at least I don't become guilty. At least I don't become guilty. And I believe at least 55% their country is not going to be attacked by the situation, because God leave the Canada going whatever way they like to go. In the end, God will change their country by force. But before this force coming, God want I bring into all of you this information to know that Canada is under serious gentleman space attack. They coming by the windstorm, rain, ice, rain, ice, basically, and the ice storm is hitting their country, and they don't know yet. And I am sending to all of you, best before this chaos happening in Canada, I get my stuff together to move. And United States, you be responsible soon as possible, according to God here. I'm moving from Canada before Jesus become basically, you can call, unleash by a space coming for avenging, you can justice. So I can tell you, all of you gentlemen, God is not interested in your church or your idea. God interested into the justice, and the justice beginning by me in Canada. You must believe the justice coming to Canada by me, according to God. If they don't or cooperate with me for this justice and pay me, I remove my investigation to RCMP Canadian Security Service. You must believe I am talking about this, and you be responsible not to, for 25 million people, according to God, what they are going to face. I can say 30 million, but 20 million, 10 million in the hot area, but 20 million facing that, and you be responsible to answer in the news why you did not bring in government of Canada under my investigation.